You know that feeling when your brain just automatically jumps to the worst case scenario? Like you're just hardwired to be a pessimist sometimes? Well, what if I told you that pessimism is actually a story your brain tells itself to try and protect you? And the absolute best part about any story, you're the author, which means you can rewrite it. Okay, let's get into it. So, we're going to start with a quick little thought experiment that really gets to the core of all this. All right, just picture it for a second. You're in a bank, minding your own business, waiting in line, maybe scrolling through your phone, totally normal day. And then, boom, chaos. It's tense, it's scary, and it's all over in just a flash. That one single bullet, it hits you. It hurts, it's a total shock, but you realize, okay, it's not life-threatening. So really think about it. Later that day, when you're telling your friends, your family what happened, what's the headline of your story? Are you the unlucky person who got shot? Or are you the lucky one? Well, psychologist Sean Achor actually asked this exact question to people all over the world, and the results are pretty wild. A huge 70% of people describe themselves as unlucky. Only 30% felt they were lucky. So what's going on here? Why is there such a big split? To really get why that 70% exists, we have to understand what pessimism is actually for. It's not some kind of character flaw, nope. It's a feature your brain came up with for a very, very specific reason. That's right. Pessimism is basically a defense mechanism. It's your mind trying to build this invisible suit of armor around you to shield you from all the emotional hits life can throw your way. And what's it protecting you from exactly? All this stuff. You know, the sting of failure, the pain from a past hurt, that sinking feeling of disappointment when things don't work out, or even just the scary uncertainty of trying something new. Your brain remembers those feelings and goes, we're not doing that again.
But here's the catch with that suit of armor, right? It's heavy. It can stop you from moving forward. That little protective voice in your head doesn't just prepare you for the worst. A lot of the time it stops you from even starting, whispering, hey, it's just better not to try at all than to risk feeling that disappointment again.
So how does our brain actually build these lucky or unlucky stories? Well, it uses this incredible tool called counterfacts. And this, my friends, is the secret ingredient behind both optimism and pessimism. Okay, let's go back to the bank. If you said you were unlucky, it's because your brain instantly created a counterfact, a completely made-up alternate reality where the bullet missed you completely. Compared to that perfect story, getting shot feels pretty unlucky. But if you said you were lucky, your brain invented a totally different counterfact, one where the shot was way worse, maybe even fatal. Compared to that tragic story, a shot in the arm feels incredibly lucky. And this explains that classic saying perfectly. A glass is half empty only because your brain is comparing it to a counterfact of a full glass. But it's half full when the counterfact you create is an empty glass. It's the same amount of water, just a different imaginary comparison. So here is the absolute key takeaway. Our feelings, our joy, our misery, they often have way less to do with what actually happens to us and everything to do with the fictional story we cook up to measure it against. It's not reality making you feel bad. It's the gap between reality and the story you chose. And this is where it all becomes so empowering. See, if your brain is just telling these stories based on old experiences to predict a negative future, well, you have the power to cut that cord. You can decide that what happened before absolutely does not have to dictate what happens next. Okay, so we get the why and the what, but how do we actually start making a change? How do we become the active author of our own stories? Well, it boils down to a pretty simple two-step toolkit. Psychiatrist Dr. Tracy Marks breaks this down so well. She says the way to get a handle on these negative thought loops isn't to fight them. No, it's about first just observing them from a distance, and second, redirecting your focus somewhere else. So, to observe your thoughts, you've got to create a little space between you and them. You could try imagining a comedian, like a really over-the-top one, performing your negative thought on stage. It suddenly sounds kind of ridiculous, right? Or you could visualize writing it on a piece of paper, crumpling it up, and just tossing it in the trash. You can even just say, hey, thanks, mind, which kind of acknowledges the thought without giving it any real power. The goal here is just to see it as something passing by, not as an absolute truth. Okay, so once you've created that little bit of space, it's time to redirect. It's super helpful to have some go-to coping statements ready, like, I am enough as I am. Or you can use a grounding exercise to pull yourself right back into the present moment. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 you can hear, and so on. Honestly, even a simple snap of a rubber band on your wrist can be enough of a jolt to break that negative loop and shift your focus. Now let's be real. Using these tools takes energy. So what's the fuel? You need to find your beacon. You have to find something you value more than the weird comfort and certainty of that negative prediction. Is it love? Is it making a difference? Is it freedom? That bigger why is what gives you the strength to take a chance and choose a different story, even when it feels totally uncertain. So at the end of the day, all of this comes down to one single, incredibly powerful choice. It's not really about changing the world around you. It's about changing the lens that you see it through. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The things that happen in our lives, they're just the raw material. The joy, the pain, the feeling of being lucky or unlucky, all of that comes from where we decide to put our focus. And that brings us right back to the most important point of all. You aren't reacting to reality. You're reacting to the story your mind invented to compare reality against. Realizing that you are the author, that is the ultimate game changer. Both pessimism and optimism are just different kinds of storytelling. One might feel a little safer, but the other one, that one opens up a whole world of possibility. So the only question left to ask is, what story are you going to write next?